Welcome to Tracing Masterpieces. In this video we'll be going over various types of equipment that you could use to mount your projector with so that you can create art. Okay, so if you're creating artwork, you'll probably have in mind the type of environment that you'll be creating your artwork. You might have like a studio, you might just have a little area in a room, that sort of thing. So you have to think about the space that you're going to use. And there's various types of equipment that you can incorporate into that space. Now here's the projector that I use. It's a small Pico projector and it's very small. It's kind of light. It's not heavy. Most projectors are rather large and heavy, and so they're more difficult to mount, and they're not designed to be like moved around as much. Since this is a portable projector, I can basically move it around a lot more easily, and it doesn't have to be wired to anything. And that's good because that allows me to position it basically anywhere that I want, and I could use various types of equipment to do that. I'll show you some of my equipment that I have. This is just like a regular arm that you can adjust and tighten, and there's little screws on the end of them which can be screwed into a clamp like this, and this allows you to basically attach it anywhere that the clamp will clamp onto. Okay, and so you could, if you have like a table that you're working on, you could just clamp it to the edge of it. You might want to put some type of cardboard or something between the clamp so that it doesn't like make marks on your table or your drawing board or whatever you're using, and then you just clamp it down. Okay, so like once you have it clamped down and it's not going anywhere, then you can think about other ways of extending this arm. In one case, you could use a selfie stick like this one, as long as it has a little 1/4 inch socket on the bottom of it. Some of these don't have that, so you have to be careful when you're looking for one of these. But the nice thing about these is that you can just screw it onto the arm like this, and then just extend it like so, and then put the projector on the end of it right up there, and then like aim it down onto your canvas and project the image. So like you just attach this here, like that basically, and make sure it's really tight so that it doesn't fall. And there you go. Now the thing you have to be careful about regarding this sort of setup is that it puts a lot of weight on the end of this, and so due to like leverage and physics and that sort of thing, if your clamp and arm isn't strong enough, it might start to, slide down or collapse basically. And so you have to be careful if you're suspending a projector on the end of it, because if it does do that, then your projector might, get damaged. So you have to make sure that the equipment that you're using is strong enough to support the projector when you're doing this sort of stuff. Okay, so you got to test it, and like for instance, I didn't really tighten it too much, so it could like rotate that way and that sort of thing. So you have to be very careful when you're doing this sort of setup and make sure everything's really tight and nothing's moving and that sort of stuff. You don't want to like bump into it with your arm, so you have to position it on the side or away from you so that it's not in the way and that sort of thing. But that's like one way of like mounting your projector and using it to project an image and then trace the image and that sort of stuff. There you could have other equipment. Here's another piece of equipment that I just recently bought to do a similar type of setup. this is basically a C-clamp and with a little ball head mount on top of it that you can screw something like a selfie stick on top of it, like this. And then you can tighten this down and extend it. So basically the same sort of thing. You put a projector on top of it and attach the C-clamp to the drawing board or table or whatever. Put some cardboard in between so that it doesn't create marks and that sort of stuff. Make sure it's really secure and tight. And as you can see, it gets a pretty good distance away from the drawing surface. You might be able to attach it onto like an easel and have it like extend out from it, but you have to be sure that it could support the weight. Like this, for instance, you have to really tighten it, and if it's not tight enough, the physics and leverage of having a weighted object all the way on the end of it might cause it to get slide down and collapse basically. So you have to make sure that the clamp and everything's really clamped down as hard as you can do it. Sometimes you have to think about the design of the equipment. Like for instance, this little handle here, to tighten it, it's kind of difficult to grip it because it's made out of metal and it's kind of like slippery and also rounded. So it's kind of a small thing to really turn if you really want to try and clamp onto it. And so you have to think about how stuff is designed, what sort of material it's made out of. I chose this because all the pieces are metal, so I know it's not going to break. But there are other things that I would like this to have been improved on, such as how it grips onto the bearings or whatever you want to call them in here, because it's easy to just slide it as I showed you by putting the weight onto it. So I wish it kind of like gripped better so that it didn't turn as much. But so this is another option that you could consider. This only cost me like $7 or $8. I found it on eBay, but there might be other types. I saw other types, but they're a little bit more expensive. But yeah, so that's one option. And same thing with this other clamp. I think this clamp is a little more expensive, but the arm is a lot more secure. Like, I'm putting a lot of force on there. I didn't really tighten it too much, but it's not giving way. So like kind of like an armature like this is very tight. It's very good, and it's not going to slip too much. The problem though is on the ends of here. It's kind of slippery around where it tightens, so it might like rotate this way, So it's also kind of difficult to tighten it because it's round and you can't really get a grip on it. So those are some things to think about. The good thing about something like this, which is more heavy duty and is designed to support a lot of weight, is exactly that. It's designed to do that. And it has a big handle that you could just grab with your whole hand and just crank it. Make sure it's like super tight. Like I'm really stressing it in order to like move it. That's not going to give from something like this small. If you're suspending this. This could probably suspend like much larger projectors as well. So, and also on the ends, the ends aren't going anywhere either. But the thing with this is it costs a lot more. This costs over $100. basically. I think it's like 120 something. So I got this to use with my camera. So I already had this before I got my projector. So I was like, oh, I could just use this to mount my projector. So that's good. And the good thing about having an armature is that you could position it around in any like orientation that you want. So you could just mount it onto on the table or wherever you're doing your art. But for this, you also need a clamp that's designed for this armature. And this is a Manfrotto super clamp. And you can just stick it in here. And also notice how the clamp's pretty large as well, because it's designed to support heavier things, heavier objects, and that sort of stuff. Like that. And you saw the handle on this is also kind of extended out. There's a lot to grip, so you can really crank onto it and make sure that it's really tight. The problem with smaller stuff is you usually get like a smaller handle, especially like in these cases where you have to like screw these things. It's really tiny. It's difficult to really, grab onto it and crank it. This is really good because you can do that. And so you just position it like so. It comes with this bracket on the end that has this 1/4 inch screw that you can screw into your projector. And then you just attach the projector right up here, like so. Very simple. And once it's on there, just crank it, tighten it down in any position that you want, and boom, project it. Now the problem with this one is that it's kind of close to the drawing canvas. So what you can do is you could buy a selfie stick and all of this, and just put a selfie stick on the end of this to extend it further. So you can take this and attach this selfie stick onto the end, and all of a sudden you've got it extended further, right? So you could loosen this up, tighten it down, aim it in the direction that you want. All of a sudden it's way up there, so you'll get a projected image that is slightly bigger. If you want a smaller projected image, you just get it closer to the drawing canvas. Okay, so it's a pretty simple process, and so that's another solution that you could use. And the good thing about this is it's really strong, so it'll basically work for like in any scenario. Okay, and in addition to that, you could use a tripod. Now, the good thing about a tripod is it's kind of stable. It's designed to be stable, It has the 3 legs on the end of it. So, just look at the tripod here. You have the legs, like so, they go out. And then you could extend the legs out. And it's pretty simple. So you could have this standing next to wherever you're going to create your artwork, and just you could attach the projector directly to the top of the tripod, like so. You just attach it on there, point it at your work. If you're standing up, this might be a really simple solution. Another simpler solution is you could just take a selfie stick that has a 1/4 inch socket on the bottom and attach the selfie stick onto the bottom. Okay, and basically from there you have a really great and simple way to just position it So you could have this mounted on the side. You could have the legs extended down. I'm not going to extend all of them, but it extends further than that. So you could probably get it up about this high, somewhere around this. Depending on the tripod that you get. You can get taller ones or shorter ones. And the tripod doesn't really need to be too expensive because they all basically work the same. But it would be like this, and you'd have it basically extended to the side over your drawing board, basically, okay? And you could project it basically in any direction. So if you're standing up with an easel, this is a good solution for that as well. You can just project it from like over your shoulder or something like that. And yeah, that's one way of doing it. So all you'd need for this is just a tripod, which are easy to find, and then a selfie stick with a 1/4 inch tripod socket in the bottom, and it also needs to have a tripod screw thing on the end of it as well as a way to adjust it, so like a little ball head on the bottom, on the top of it. You know, not all selfie sticks have this kind of design, so you have to look into that and make sure it does. Okay, and they're pretty cheap, so that's a good thing. So you just gotta be creative and think about how to position things, what sort of equipment is necessary, what sort of equipment you already have, what type of projector you're using, if it's a heavy projector or a lightweight projector. Ideally, you'd want something that's very lightweight like this, because it's a lot easier to mount something like this. Also, if it's wireless as well, because if you're wired, that kind of limits the distance and where you could place stuff and things like that. So this is just an overview of the different type of equipment that you could use while mounting your projector and using it for your artwork. And I hope this was helpful. I'll leave information about all the equipment in the description below. Leave a comment, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff, because it really helps the channel and pushes it in the YouTube algorithm and that sort of thing. And also, if you have any questions or want to leave a comment, that sort of stuff, do that and I'll get back to you and that sort of thing. So, stay tuned for more. This is Tracing Masterpieces. Thanks for watching.